having walked these halls just like all of you, and having one of my former high school teammates, Mike Worsham, here with me brings back some great memories. But one of the things I'll say is my parents both were college graduates. Both my parents earned their master's degrees, and they stressed education being first and foremost in my life and my brother's life. And so from a very young age, education became the core, and basketball became secondary. And the whole goal in playing basketball was to hopefully be able to earn a college scholarship and be able to then maybe be a professional athlete. But my mom and dad always taught me that the difference maker was education, that I could dream big dreams, and anything that I dreamt was possible, but there was no way to achieve any of those goals or dreams without a strong education. And so when I was here at Southeast, I got really the foundation of what allowed me to do what I do now and what has allowed me to really build my career. I think about Mr. Driscoll, who was my math teacher. I loved math and almost majored in math, and it was because of Mr. Driscoll that I was able to really focus on how important math was, how important English was. Miss Lowe taught me English. I can remember my high school teachers because they played such an integral part of my life. And having a mom that was a school teacher, and having her go out day in, day out, try to help young people learn. When I came here to Southeast, I was totally committed to the academic side, but certainly enjoyed playing basketball.
That's great to hear. So there are a couple athletes that may not be in the same situation to have such great role models in their parents, or maybe not even have some of their parents around. So how do you feel they could become more interested in the school side of things and find passion in academics as well as athletics and pair them together onto the next level?
Well, the best thing to do is try to find some friends that are interested in doing the right thing. Some friends, Mike Worsham is still here with me today, because we studied together, we practiced together, we played basketball together in high school, and we're still friends to this day. But we had a common interest in wanting to do the right thing and wanting to study hard. And oftentimes I think what happens is, with young people, you have a choice, of who you want to hang out with. I mean, you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends. Yeah. So it's I think it's very, very important that you pick friends that have high goals, high dreams, high aspirations of doing things in life, and that's who you connect to, because then you get that energy, that positive energy from each other, and it can either be positive or negative. If you decide to pick friends that aren't motivated to do positive things in their lives, they can certainly get you off track because you get a lot of that negative energy. So the more and more you can surround yourself with positive people, the more you can encourage each other, the more you can push each other to be successful. I think that's how you uplift each other. And it doesn't all have to happen at home. You can pick mentors. You can find adults in the community that you can look up to and ask them, hey, will you mentor me? Will you give me advice? May I call you? May I pick your brain from time to time? And I truly believe that people that achieve any success should be open to mentoring other young people and help them be able to chase their dreams. It's really a way of paying forward a debt of gratitude that you should have for being blessed and having the opportunity to chase your dreams. Because one thing's for sure, no one does it on their own. Anybody that thinks they're successful or they're achieving things or they're getting awards or accolades because they did it, they're really mistaken. No one gets there without help. Everybody has had some help to get to where they get to if they're successful. And so the more success that you have, I think, in your life, the more you have to give back and try to help other people be able to do the things they want to do in their lives, especially if they aren't as fortunate as you are and had the same opportunities that you had.
And you've clearly emulated that in your life, how successful you've been and what you've done for the communities around North Carolina. And I just want to know, who are some of your mentors that you've had growing up and going to Campbell and Central and being to where you're at now, and how have they impacted your life?
Well, my parents were my primary mentors. Again, I was one of those lucky ones that had two parents at home, and we had a loving home, and they preached education, but they also supported me in athletics. So they were really who I looked up to, but I had some great teachers. I mentioned a couple of them. Ms. Lowe and Mr. Driscoll were, very, very impactful in my life. Coach Bill Slayton, who was a football coach here and also my track coach here, and athletic director here, was certainly a mentor of mine. And then my college coach, Danny Roberts, who is like a second father to me, who allowed me to play college basketball. He actually gave me a full college basketball scholarship to play at Campbell, and then also hired me to be his graduate assistant and allowed me to earn my master's degree at Campbell. He's certainly somebody I look up to and is a role model. And then just in my career, I've been so fortunate to have been able to work with some of the brightest minds in, not just in sports, but in business. When I think about Phil Knight, who started Nike, being able to work alongside him and work for Nike twice at a very senior level, and be able to be in meetings with him and be able to learn so much about culture and how important culture is to building a business, a successful business. You just don't get that opportunity that often. And obviously my boss, Michael Jordan, being able to work alongside him for the last 25, 28 years in building businesses at Nike and at Jordan Brand, at the Bobcats, at the Hornets, has been great. And obviously I look up to him. And David Falk, who was my boss when I represented professional athletes as a player agent, being able to learn from, I think, the best negotiator of all time in pro sports in David Falk, being able to learn how to negotiate NFL, NBA contracts at a very high level, learning how to be prepared when you're negotiating and how important preparation is and being able to have a successful negotiation. All those people play huge roles in my life, and I look up to all of them.
So, of course, these are all people in very high leadership roles, and you yourself hold a very high leadership role as the president of the Hornets. Do you feel that you developed leadership over time, or were you a natural-born leader? And how could others maybe develop that sense of speaking to other people and influencing other people in such a positive manner?
That's a great question. I think, everybody is blessed with different gifts. And when I think about my life, I think if I was ever given a blessing, it was the blessing to be able to communicate. And I think when you lead, you have to be able to communicate and bring people together and have people trust you and have people want to follow you and work with you. And it's never anybody working for you, it's always people working with you. And so it actually started here at Southeast, where I was given the opportunity for the first time really to lead. And that's, Mike and my teammates voted me captain of our basketball team here at Southeast. The student body voted me as vice president of the student body here and trusted me to help lead the student government here. And my senior class voted me senior class president here. And those are all great learning opportunities of how to lead and how to bring our class together, our school together, our team together, whether it was good times or bad times, how you deal with adversity, how you take lemons and turn them into lemonade. I learned all those lessons right here at Southeast, and then I was able to go to college, and again, my teammates trusted me and voted me captain of our basketball team at Campbell, which was an honor. And then when I went to law school, my first year law school class voted me representative with the Student Bar Association, and then the law school voted me president of the Student Bar Association, which is like the student government of law school. Again, another great opportunity to lead. And I just enjoy, trying to bring people together, and where there are differences, try to, help people just talk things out and resolve those differences. And I think, as I think now in my role at the Hornets, I'm just so fortunate I have a very talented group of people to work with day in, day out. I'm more of a listener because I think we've hired the brightest and the best. We've got a very diverse staff, and I think diversity is very important in all situations because it's so much more impactful and innovative when you have different people around the table that were raised different, that were taught differently, that think differently, they can bring their ideas to the table. And as a leader, you just got to listen, and if you trust the people that you're working with, that they've got the same goal that you have in making the organization successful, 95% of the time you're going to agree with decisions that they make if you've got the right people. If you've got to make all the decisions, you probably had the wrong teammates working with you. So in my role as a leader, I try not to have to make any real decisions unless, that 5% of the time, I happen to vehemently disagree with something that my teammates are telling me. I ultimately have to make the final decision because our owner, Michael, is counting on me to make that tough call. But it's all about having great teammates. It's all about working with the brightest and the best, giving them an opportunity to do their jobs, not micromanage them, and trust them. And I think that's what leadership is all about.
So you talked about trust, and in football we have seven core principles, and one of those that I feel best reflects trust is accountability, and how for whatever position you play or in the classroom, you're accountable for taking care of your work at all times. And I just want to know, for being accountable in the workload of school and as well as practicing after school, how did the step from high school to college impact you? Was it as big as you expected, less than you expected? And how can we expect to handle that coming out of Southeast?
Yeah, and I don't know how many student athletes we have here, but what I'll say is athletics is a great teaching tool for life, because everything you do in life, I think, is all about working with a team. There are very, very few things in life that you do that is 100% individual. Maybe, if you're a golfer, but wrestler, but how about the President's Cup? Even the best golfers are playing on a team this week. But accountability is a big part of it, because if everybody on the team does their job and everybody understands their job and their role, then the team can be successful. If there's one or two individuals that are part of that team that don't really want to embrace what their role is that can best help the team, it can certainly get the team off track. And so the accountability piece is big. I'm being held accountable every day for our organization and Michael's investment in our team as our owner. We hold everybody in our organization accountable for what they do day in, day out. But we do it as a team. And the thing about a team is if one fails, we all fail. If everybody pulls together and we win, we all win. And that's really the philosophy that we have at our organization. And I'm responsible for the bottom line, the profit and loss of our company. And we've got to be profitable whether our team on the floor is winning games or not. And we got to figure out, how we embrace the community, how we sell tickets and sponsorships and engage ourselves in the community so that our community will be patient with us until our young team continues to get better and better and better. And we had a great night last night at Brooklyn. One of our young players, a second-year player that was drafted in the second round, scored 40 points last night. We came back from 20 down. That's the kind of excitement that we can build around and have our fans be patient. But if we don't engage with them, when we're having a tough night or a tough loss or a tough season, then there's a good chance they aren't going to continue to support us.
And I know I myself, when I'm experiencing failure, it's sometimes tough to communicate with other people. And I've met multiple athletes who struggle to communicate, maybe in general leadership. I know one example on the football team who came in not as vocal, but he was a great athlete, worked really hard, and by his senior year, he was managing the whole defense, and that's Marcus. And for people that need to develop these communication skills, what kind of maybe extracurricular activities or different things they could try to help with that if they're not always looking to a mentor or have a mentor?
That's a great question, and if Marcus is here, congratulations, Marcus, on doing that, because your teammates need you to do that. One of the things that I really appreciate, probably more than anything, from my relationship with Michael Jordan over the years is just the positivity that he's always had about everything. I can think back to to being at his dad's funeral, and all of you are too young to really even know about his dad being brutally murdered, and it was just a horrible situation in the early 90s. But for him to speak at his own dad's funeral and have positive things to say rather than negative things to say, you know, we've always had a philosophy of, you know, how do we turn these lemons into lemonade? You know, how do you take, you know, the most horrid situation and turn it into a positive? And that's kind of the way we've tried to live our lives. That's the way we've tried to build our businesses. And, you know, if you're an introvert and don't like to communicate, you know, you don't have to do it in a big crowd. You can do it one-on-one. Start to build a close relationship and have conversations with one of your teammates or one of your classmates, and then let it expand to a few more. And then before you know it, it's all confidence. You know, it's all confidence. And the thing I think that gives you confidence is when you know what you're talking about, when you're aware of the subject matter, when you know you're competent in a certain area, you have the confidence to be able to speak about it. And it's the same way when you're playing a sport. As long as you know the game, you're prepared, you're fundamentally sound, you worked your butt off to get ready, you're confident when you go out there and play, and you're confident when you have communication between your teammates. And as long as you all have a common goal, then the more you all pull together as one and can communicate, the better the outcome's going to be.
And you talked about confidence in respect to sports, but I've found that in the classroom, confidence applies equally as much, if not more, when taking tests and doing projects. You need to be very assertive on what you're doing, and it turns out to help you a lot. And we've talked about a lot of things today, and I just want to reiterate that if anyone has any questions.
Let me just add one thing on the classroom. You know, when you're taking tests, it doesn't matter whether you're taking a math test, an English test, you're studying for the GMAT to get in grad school, or you're taking the LSAT to get in law school, or you're taking the bar exam to become a lawyer. You have to be prepared. You cannot go into any test and think you're going to wing your way through it, because you're just rolling the dice. And if you paid the price to be engaged and be involved and try to achieve this goal, that goal, that goal, you have to put the work in. There's no shortcut on the field, on the basketball court, in the classroom. You have to put the work in to be prepared.
Just kind of a quick interest question. What made you choose Campbell? Because I assume there are other schools that had offered you.
Yeah, so I grew up, I just mentioned I grew up going to that basketball school every summer, and at the time it was the largest basketball school in the country. People don't realize it. I mean, you guys are way too young to know who, like John Wooden and Press Maravich and Pistol Pete Maravich and all those guys are, but they're some of the greatest of all time if you do some research. But they used to go down to Boys Creek and help run Campbell University basketball school. So I became very close with the head coach there, Danny Roberts, and he recruited me out of high school. And out of high school, I went to UNC Greensboro for 1 year because they were going to go Division. They were Division III, but they were going to go Division II my sophomore year. And I averaged 21 points a game as a freshman at UNCG, and I was named honorable mention Division III All-American as a freshman. But then they decided not to go Division I, and Campbell decided they were going Division I that next year. So I wanted to play against better competition, and so Coach Roberts offered me a full scholarship to transfer from UNCG to Campbell, and I'm thrilled I did it. It worked out great for me.
Earlier you talked about how important it is to think about others and what they may be going through and how their lives are. And I know the Latin definition of compassion is like to see from others' eyes or something. How important do you think compassion is to have now in this time and how things are going in the world?
I mean, I just think you have to think about others. You know, you can't think about yourself. You can't be self-centered. I know this young lady asked a question about being frustrated with maybe your classmates. Again, you never know what people are going through. You know, you never know whether they have a sick parent at home that they're having to try to take care of, or a sick grandparent, or a brother or sister. You just don't know what people are going through. So you have to be compassionate. You have to care about people, because, you know, in our society, I mean, it's us, and it's all of us, and we got to do all we can, you know, to help each other try and, you know, have better lives. You know, one of the things we work on in Charlotte every day, and It's sort of a big term we use it. It's called economic mobility. But basically it means that there are so many people that are left behind that aren't able to have good lives because they just financially can't afford it. How can we do things to help them get jobs and create jobs and opportunities so others can have a better life and it not just be a few that are able to have a successful life? And so compassion is a big word, and I think the more our society has compassion, I think the better we all will be for it. One of my favorite quotes is from Muhammad Ali, and it's one that I try to live by, and it's real simple. It's service to others is the rent that you pay for your room here on earth. Service to others is your rent for the room that you have here on earth. So always serve others as you go forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Fred Whitfield, give a hand